What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be taking a look at the exotics and builds getting significantly better when Lightfall launches due to the changes Bungie is making to fragments. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, if you're in the market for a new PC, you gotta check out Evolve PCs. They got the Kakis HD Signature Edition, or you can just get a normal PC case. I'm not gonna judge. You can customize exactly what parts you want to fit your gaming needs. Just remember to use code KakisHD because you're gonna get a 6% discount, linked down below. Alright, now let's talk about, again, there are certain exotic armor pieces, there are certain builds and interactions that are just going to skyrocket in value and likely become part of the meta when Lightfall launches. And that's because they are the biggest beneficiaries of the fact that Bungie is adding 2 new fragments for Arc, Solar, and Void, as well as updating a lot of the existing fragments. So, looking at Arc first here, this got the least changes. What they're doing is adding Spark of Instinct, so when critically wounded, taking damage from nearby enemies emits a burst of damaging arc energy that jolts targets. Also, you have Spark of Haste. You have greatly increased resilience, recovery, and mobility while sprinting. So, what benefits from these? Well, firstly, for Spark of Haste, it's a great general purpose fragment, especially if you're someone running a Hunter or a Warlock that hasn't reached 100 resilience for that PvE damage resistance. Now you can get away with maybe running, 70, 80, still get some decent damage resistance, and then when you sprint, it goes up to, 90, 100, and you get that extra protection. And you want extra protection when you're sprinting around. You're often trying to get out of a fight, get to cover, so that's who's going to benefit there. And for Spark of Instinct, you have to be nearby enemies to take damage, and then also the enemies have to be close enough to get hit with that burst of arc energy. Honestly, I'm thinking melee focus builds. You're already up in the fray, you're fighting nearby enemies, so now potentially you can be damaging and jolting even more guys. So something like the Assassin's Cowl. This is going to form a actually very powerful melee focused build for the Hunter, right? You're going to be able to go invisible for getting finishers and final blows with melees and so on, and now potentially when you're running, especially while invisible, you're going to get that increased recovery to get your health back faster, and when you're meleeing a more powerful enemy, you're going to be potentially jolting and killing the other adds coming for you. It seems pretty decent. Now, another benefactor here is definitely less meta, but it's the insurmountable skull fort for the Titan. This is going to let you make another melee-focused arc build, especially if you are running shoulder charge here. You want to be sprinting. You're sprinting all the time to trigger your melee, so definitely getting more benefits for doing so seems nice. And again, you're up in the fray. You are literally going right next to enemies to do your melees, so damaging them additionally is also going to be very beneficial. But guys, moving on from there, again, Arc was the kind of least updated element here. We have Solar. So first of all, we have Fire Sprites. Now, these are created by a suite of new and existing Solar fragments and grant grenade energy on pickup. Essentially, guys, elemental wells are going away. So each different element has its own version of something you can create, go and pick up, and it gives you a benefit. So Arc has Ionic Traces, right? Stasis has stasis shards that give you melee energy, and fire sprites for Solar specifically only give you grenade energy. Now, moving on from there, there's 2 new fragments. Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and other nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up a fire sprite grants restoration. You have Ember of Resolve. Solar grenade final blows cure you, so heal you. Ember of Tempering is being updated, so it now creates fire sprites on Solar weapon kills while active, in addition to its original effects. Ember of Combustion now creates fire sprites on Solar super defeats, and Ember of Searing can now create a fire sprite when defeating scorched targets. So, right away, my mind went to something that is going to be absolutely bananas next season, and it's something that's already bananas this season, and that's got to be the Starfire Protocol. Guys, the Starfire Protocol is going to give you an extra fusion grenade, so if you are using it with the Touch of Flame aspect, that makes them more powerful, you can do some absurd DPS strategies with the Starfire Protocol because it's going to give you grenade energy back for doing weapon damage with an empowered weapon. So you stand in your well, you're doing DPS to a boss, you're getting constant, more damaging fusion grenades, and you can just unleash just some of the best DPS ever in the entire game. But now you're telling me in Lightfall I can use that same build but put on a fragment where my grenades heal me for getting kills. That just seems absurd. One of the downsides of using the Starfire Protocol is that you want to run empowering rifts, but that obviously leaves you a bit vulnerable. It decreases your survivability. That new ability to cure when you get grenade kills could completely solve that problem. Not to mention, guys, creating fire sprites gives you grenade energy. Well, all the grenade focused builds just got way better because of that, and the Starfire Protocol is definitely the most meta one. But continuing from there, another big benefactor, honestly, is the Titan Armamentarium. This just gives you an additional grenade charge. So like if you are running a solar build, you want to be creating and picking up those fire sprites, this is just going to be a huge way to have so much more grenades being thrown. And the same is true for the Heart of Inmost Light, one of the most meta exotics in the entire game right now. Using your abilities, make your other abilities recharge faster and are more powerful. Again, if you're picking up fire sprites now, you're getting more grenade energy, you're throwing more grenades, Heart of Inmost Light is going to benefit greatly. But definitely a less meta choice that might be getting a lot better is actually the Ashen Wake exotic gauntlets for the Titan. So this is going to make your fusion grenades explode on impact and gain increased throw speed, but final blows with fusion grenades grant grenade energy. So the Ashen Wake, if you have a dedicated grenadier build, you can really throw those fusion grenades over and over and over again as long as you're getting kills, right? So now you have the addition of fire sprites and potentially you're using the fragment to heal you as well, right? That's going to be pretty darn good. But moving over to the Hunters, they've got the Young Ahamkara's Spine. This is going to increase Trip Mine grenade duration and blast radius, and ability damage grants Trip Mine grenade energy. This is something that you will run into in the Crucible, and again, apply all those same benefits. Fire sprites, healing, all that extra grenade stuff to these, a Grenadier focused Hunter build, and yeah, that could get a lot better in Lightfall 2. Next up, the Incandescent Weapon perk, something that's already very good, where defeating a target spreads Scorch to nearby targets. You're going to find that on the, Callous Mini-Tool God Roll. This is one of the, best primary weapons in the game. That's getting a lot better because of the changes to Ember of Searing, where now defeating scorched targets will spawn those fire sprites. So, oh my goodness, if you're using an incandescent weapon, literally every enemy is scorching all the time. It's nuts. But another big change here to Ember of Tempering, where simply getting solar weapon final blows will create those fire sprites, in addition to granting recovery. If you want to go hard on an elemental weapon build, you could use something like the Mantle of Battle Harmony, which wants you to be a solar build using solar weapons. You're going to get increased super energy, increased weapon damage, and another benefactor of that in that a solar weapon build, the Path of Burning Steps for the Titan, right? That again wants you to get solar weapon kills specifically, and now you're going to be getting even more benefits for doing so. But moving on, lastly, we have Void. So their version of fire sprites are Void Breaches. They are created by a selection of new and existing Void fragments and grant class ability energy specifically. Then the new fragments are Echo of Cessation, Finisher, Final Blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby enemies to become volatile, and defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. You then have Echo of Vigilance. Defeating a target when your shields are depleted grants you a temporary overshield, and then you have changes to Echo of Domineering. It now creates a Void Breach when defeating suppressed targets. Echo of Harvest now creates a Void Breach when defeating weakened targets with precision damage, and then Echo of Starvation grants Devour when you pick up a Void Breach. Now let's just get this out of the way. Echo of Vigilance sounds broken. Get a kill with no shields and get a free overshield? Are you serious? So every single gunfight when you're wounded, you get an overshield? That sounds essentially mandatory for PvP and also sounds just as cracked for PvE. So expect that to be on pretty much every single Void build moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised. But in terms of the other fragments and other effects, so, because Void Breaches award class ability energy, builds that want to use their class ability as much as possible are big winners here. For the Nightstalker Hunter, Vanishing Step, dodging makes you invisible. Now if you're collecting Void Breaches, that's going to happen a lot more often. So you can pair that with something like the Aeon Swifts, right? Where you get finishers and you can actually spawn heavy ammo. This is one of the best exotics in the entire game for Grandmasters and stuff like that, and often you will use invisibility to get up close to the enemy you're trying to finish, and that's just going to be a great combo there. Now, another huge winner for the Hunter, the Gear Falcons build. This is my most used Hunter build right now. It might be my favorite build overall in the game. It is so immensely powerful. You get basically infinite volatile rounds by going in and out of invisibility. So now you're telling me I'm going to be getting my class ability more often, and also there's a fragment that will specifically spawn Void Breaches for getting kills with volatile rounds, which again, you are doing like 100% of the time with the Gear Falcons build. That seems very, very synergistic. In fact, if I am doing that interaction and spawning constant Void Breaches, now I can use Echo of Starvation, which is going to give me Devour when I pick up those Void Breaches, adding a huge amount of ability regen and survivability. I'm getting my health back on every single kill now. So again, Gear Falcons build, whew, that's only going up. Now moving on to the Titan, if they're using the Bastion aspect where they get an overshield for using their class ability, that's going to benefit greatly from those Void Breaches as well. And of course, if you're spamming your class ability non-stop, the Heart of Inmost Light is looking pretty darn good. Now for the Warlock, obviously just more rifts is amazing, but specifically if you're using something like the Secant Filaments, where casting an Empowered Rift will grant you Devour, and damage dealt by you and your allies will disrupt combatants deal with Overload champions. Again, you want to be using as many rifts as you can, and so again, the benefits from Void Breaches become even more pronounced. I mean, heck, even something like Lunafaction Boots, which is going to give you a huge increase to range in that Empowered Rift and reload speed, is going to benefit. But also, guys, with the changes to Echo of Domineering, simply defeating a suppressed target will spawn a Void Breach, and there's certain weapons that just make that stupid easy. The first one is the Tractor Cannon. Literally every single enemy you shoot with the Tractor Cannon will be suppressed. So, are you going to be able to just run around with this thing? Every single guy you kill spawns a Void Breach? That could be very, very powerful. And a similar thing, the Two-Tailed Fox, right? It shoots a solar and a void projectile. The void one suppresses, and Bungie actually said the Two-Tailed Fox was getting an exotic catalyst in Lightfall, and they strongly implied they would add a third arc rocket, which just seems kind of nuts. Not only that, but you also just straight up have suppressor grenades in order to, again, really easily spawn a bunch of Void Breaches with that fragment. And so guys, there you have it. That's some of the stuff that, because of the changes and additions to fragments, I think is going to be increasing in value significantly in Lightfall. What do you guys think? Are there certain combinations I missed? Let me know in the comment section down below. Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.